our new package for an upcoming series that we got coming out for you guys, where we're traveling. Mia and I are going to be traveling from Perth to Exmouth, all along the Indian Ocean, along the Indian Road up there. You probably tuned into the video for the Big Blue boat, for the barge. So I got into trouble on the beach, where you'll see coming up in the series. And I definitely wouldn't put one of these in again. The thing locks up all the time. It's flimsy. I've been wanting them on my trucks for so long. I only just found out. Like I said, 5 years I've had this thing for, and really now we're getting to the stage that we're going to put this thing into really good use. How we doing? Today I'm going to run you through our new package for Patriot Games for an upcoming series that we got coming out for you guys, where we're traveling. Mia and I are going to be traveling from Perth to Exmouth, all along the Indian Ocean, along the Indian Road up there. Then we're going to go home, we're going to reset for a bit. The twins are going to come back. So we'll kind of see how we go throughout the season, throughout the year, how everything goes back at Patriot HQ, and obviously everything going on in Las Vegas, the launch of the new ST5. By the time you see this, we'll be very close to a new product coming out for Patriot campers. So we're trying to fit in as much touring as we can and getting back to our grassroots of really touring Australia. You've probably tuned into the video for the Big Blue boat, for the barge. We're going to call it a barge, landing craft, it actually is. But before we get stuck into that, and I'll tell you what that thing's all about, I'm going to run through the new fit out that I've done on my Ram 2500. Now this is the same Ram I've clocked up about 60,000 Ks on it. I've just worn down the back tyres, which we'll get to in a minute. I've had this vehicle for 2 years. It's travelled a lot of the country, and it's just an amazing bit of kit. You know, if you're towing something big, the boat's weighing 3,400 kilos dry, fully loaded. When we head up north a little bit more, we're going to be very close to that 4.5 tonne. So the big Ram 2500 with the Cummins is definitely the vehicle of choice for this trip that's coming up. So come with me, let's have a little bit of a walk around the Ram. Like I said, this one here's a 23 model, a Ram 2500. This one's got the 6.7 Cummins in it, the big transmission, obviously solid front end. The big thing about this thing here, it makes over 1,000 Newton meters of torque standard out of the box. I'm not a big fan of any more these days, of mucking with engine tunes and that sort of stuff on factory cars. You know, you're talking companies that spend millions and millions of dollars of research that have been doing it for over 50 years. And some guy in a shed out the back of somewhere thinks that he can do it better. Generally speaking, if you're going for a performance car like a rock crawler, or you know, that sort, if you're into that sort of stuff, obviously by all means go for it. You know, I do it. Look at my Jeep, you know, with the Hemi conversion. But for a touring rig, I think that you can't beat factory. And realistically, I think the way I think about it now, if I need to add to aftermarket tune or change turbos or add more power to the vehicle or do a big GVM upgrade, then I've probably started with the wrong vehicle. That's maybe something to consider. Obviously it comes down to budget as well, and we're obviously fortunate enough that we kind of have the budget to do the things that we do, but it's definitely the right vehicle for towing something so heavy. And fundamentally the thing is standard. I'll run through just a quick recap. You can watch some of the other videos, but I'll more focus on what I've changed up for this trip. You can see here I've got a nice big smashed headlight in the front. That's coming up in the series, how that happened, and got a bit of damage in the back. Off-road animal bull bar. I've got some rigid lights, 12,000 pound winch, obviously GME. Big change for this trip for me is I've actually changed out the suspension in this. The old shocks that were in it did the job. They did ride quite harsh. I put the Fox shocks in my 1500. And like hand on heart, I can't be any more honest about it. I've just blown away with what they did to that car. So I ordered in a set of Fox remote resis for this thing, and it's night and day. The drive that you get on the Fox shocks, the comfort level, because Fox have been doing it for so long, and they valve all of their shocks specifically for the vehicle. A lot of the companies that you'll buy remote res with just valving in it, that's to suit kind of anything, and they suit multiple models. Well, that's not really how valving works. They've got to be tuned for the weight of the vehicle. And really the clickers again on this, when I'm towing on the highway, I go 3 clicks in from fully out, from fully open. And then when I get onto the corrugated, the rough stuff, I just open everything up, and the ride just changes so much. And that's obviously a lot to do with tyre pressure as well. Goodyear Wranglers, I'm running on this thing, 60,000 Ks they've done. They're toast now. After this 6,000 Ks that I did across from the Gold Coast to get over here, those tyres are worn out. So I don't know what I'm going to change them up to next, but I'm going to try something different. And obviously sitting on the Method wheels, which so far haven't had an issue. I've only got a 2-inch lift in this thing as well, which is, look, it's all the truck really needs. If I'm to be brutally honest, the diffs in this thing have got me into trouble a couple of times now on the beach, because the pumpkins on these Rams, they're so big. The front diff is so big, and the axle tubes are so big. Same with the rear a couple of times. It doesn't take a lot to belly the thing out in the sand. Ideally, I think one of these on 37s or even 40s, just to get that diff up higher. It's not about the body lift so much, it's about getting the clearance underneath the diff. That's one thing I'd really like to see happen. Amp Research side steps are on the side. Rhino Rack roof rack, that's the same that it's always been. Only got 2 max trucks up there at the moment because I got into trouble on the beach, where you'll see coming up in the series. I had these amazing people help me out down at South Lefroy. Ended up losing one of their max trucks, so I gave them a pair of mine. So I'm missing a couple of max trucks. I'm gonna have to send some over, and I've got the shovel on top. And one of the new things I've got up on top of this, I've installed one of the new P-Core Starlink mini mounts. It's got a DC converter in there that'll convert the amperage, and that's wired straight into the second battery in the back. So I've got Starlink on with the little switch. When I don't want it, I can just flick the switch, Starlink's off, and I do that a lot. And then normally, night when we're traveling, I'll turn it on, jump in the rooftop tent, and just check how everything's going on back at work, check in with the family and all that sort of stuff. Rhino Rack awning, we actually haven't got it out on this first part of the series that's coming up, but the second part of the series, you'll see that this will come in really handy. This is their new freestanding awning. It is a really, really cool bit of kit. And the Outback Tourer rooftop tent, which I actually stole off of Ashton before I left. Now, because I'm towing the boat, I didn't have a camper trailer with me on this trip. Mia's been towing in the first part of the trip. I've been living in the Outback Tourer rooftop tent, and the thing is so easy to set up, and especially when you're running it on a bed rack like this. Rhino Rack bed rack, that's something brand new for us as well. When I get the truck back home, I use this thing as a ute, and I want to keep it as a ute, you know. My dirt bikes go in the back, I do the landscaping at home on the weekend, I'll fill the thing with rubbish, and I just really love having a ute. I've gone off of canopies because I'm always towing, obviously, with having Patriot campers. Ram box have been absolutely amazing. I couldn't live without now. Really quickly, the way I kind of pack on the side, I've got a full-blown first aid kit. So that's our real big, really inclusive first aid kit. I carry the max tracks, the smaller ones, one inside the vehicle, one inside the boat. Mia has one in her camper trailer. I've got all of my inflation gear here, 2 max tracks Indeflates, one for the front, one for the back. Those things are friggin' amazing. If you don't have one of them, you'll see me use it right throughout the series. Fire extinguishers I'm always really, really big on as well. Now coming around to the back of the truck, I've just got big mud flaps on the back. DO45 I've got on the back here. Something new that I've just added, finally, they are legal in Australia. Just latch hooks. I've been wanting them on my trucks for so long. I only just found out, and even owning a camper trailer company, I just found out that now they're rated for Australia and they're legal in Australia. So if you're interested, get onto them, because when you're hitching and unhitching as much as we do, you just undo the clip and they go straight on. 2 straighter valves in the back. I've got airbags in the back of this thing, just when I've got the big load on the back. The boat's got like a 300 kilo ball load. So once I put that 300 kilos and then load up the back of the Ram, I find that with this setup that I've got at the moment, I find I only need about 15, 20 pounds, and that's all it really needs. And that's another big advantage of the 2500, because they're set up for towing. This here, you can see on the back of the Ram that I did a complete amateur hour mistake. in the haste, and you'll see this coming up in the series as well, in the haste of launching the boat on an outgoing tide on a real shallow launch. I'll put the extension, the drawbar extension on the boat, and I forgot to clip in the DO 45, reverse the thing up, the weight of the boat came off and the drawbar just smacked straight into the back of the tailgate. But I've got a really good friend of mine who does canopies, and he takes trays off a lot. I've already spoken to him. He's actually got a Ram 2500 Ram box tub sitting there ready to go to the scrapyard. So he's whipped the tailgate off for me, and I'm gonna put a new one on. In the back, I've put in a bed slide. This brand of bed slide, to be perfectly honest with you, I really don't rate it. I put in a decked brand one in my TRX in the United States, and I fell in love with it. So good, so easy to use. This is the one I can get my hands on before the trip, and I definitely wouldn't put one of these in again. The thing locks up all the time. It's flimsy, it's janky. You got to kind of, I mean, look at it, it's just, yeah, not a really good bit of kit. So I'll probably change this out. Max Trax recovery kit, obviously that goes everywhere with me. I've got a little Coolman-esky, so when we're obviously doing day trips, we can pull some food out of the camper trailer or straight out of the fridge. 2 boxes, people ask me all the time as far as tools go. This one here is full of just power tools, a torque wrench and a big lumpy hammer. In the second box, I've got all of my critical spares. So I'll carry, say for example, wheel bearings. I'll carry all of my lubricants, greases, zip ties, electrical crimps, fuses, all of those things that could potentially get us out of trouble if we did get, obviously you can't carry everything, but if you have known reoccurring problems, for example, Mia's Jeep, for some reason, it lunches MIDI fuses for the Anderson plug, and we just can't figure out why it's doing that. When I say lunches, it might happen once every 3 or 4 weeks on a trip. So I carry about 10, 50 amp MIDI fuses. So I kind of try and prepare for what I could see potentially coming up. The twins, when they come out, the amount of tools that they bring is insane. You see those kids have the mechanical knowledge to change a front diff on the side of the track like they've done before, and you've seen them doing in Patriot Games. I'm not that way inclined. So I'll only carry the tools that I know I'm comfortable with doing a repair on. Anything outside of that, we'll make an alternative plan. Here's my toolkit. This is my personal one. The twins aren't allowed to touch this one. This one's mine. I'll give you a really quick run through on this, on what I carry. All of my spanners are in this one here. I've got 1/4 inch sockets and my 1/2 inch impact sockets for the impact gun that I carry with me. And then on this side, I'll have 1/2 inch just chrome sockets. Screwdrivers, that's a 3/8 adapter for my rattle gun. Allen keys, scissors always come in handy. Test light, a couple of different size pliers, 1/2 inch ratchet, breaker bar, another hammer, shifter. Always carry a shifter that'll go above, say, 33 mil, so I can undo a tow ball if I need to, if we need to transfer to another car. Vice grips, really important. Brake lines, say for example, you rip off a brake line, you can clamp it with the vice grips, and then I've got a bigger breaker bar down there. So that's about the kit that I carry. I mean, you can see in here, they're all my impact stuff if I need to rattle something off, and then all my chromies are on that side, with a host of power tools that I carry. So power tools, in that box I'll have a 1/2 inch drive impact, I'll have a 1/4 inch drive impact, I've got a drill in there, I've got a torch, carry an angle grinder with a couple of cut-off discs and a flat disc, and that's about it when it comes to the power tools. A couple of other things I've got in the back there, a Titan Terrain high lift jack, 2-ton jack, would not go anywhere without it. You'll see throughout the series, that thing really got me out of it twice in a really, really big way. And you'll see in every series of Patriot Games, when you're running big trucks like this, big heavy trucks or big lifted trucks, even when it comes to your patrols and your Land Cruisers and all the rest of it, it's just one of those items you've got to carry with you. Fire pit, I've got sitting around the back here, and then I've got a Coolman fridge. I think this one is a 47 litre, could be wrong on that. That one's been running as a freezer for the entire trip. So when we do the shopping before we leave for a trip, I'll load up, I'll freeze down a lot of meats and a lot of other foods, and then every day we kind of just pop something out. What are we going to have for dinner? And then we'll transfer it into the fridge on Mia's car. Inside this side of the Ram box, got the second battery set up, which is powering, so the solar on the Outback Tourer rooftop tent is back to here. I've also got DC charge off the car. This also powers the Starlink. So what I'm finding these days is I try and keep everything independent between the factory electronics and any of the additions that I put on, and we found that really early in the Super Tourer days. When we were integrating, say, canopy or vehicle electronics with the car electronics, and you start meshing those two systems together, I guarantee every time, that's where you start running into troubles. So what we try and do now is leave the car run, operate completely independent, and especially if you've got a vehicle that's not heavily modified and still under warranty, that way if you get to the dealership and something's gone wrong, the dealership can't turn around and say, well, that's because you did, yeah? And I got that a lot in the early days. Chop 200s, extended 79s, turbo upgrades, electrical systems. You know, I'd go and spend $80,000, $90,000 on a base vehicle and the warranty was just void straight away. I went through that a couple of times. Now I can take any vehicle into the dealership and it's not, everything's independent, so they can't really blame you for that. Ratchet straps, spare ratchets always come in handy. Say something breaks or your bolts rattle out, you can ratchet something down. Good pair of boots, you obviously need them. And a jump starter pack. Always carry a jump starter pack with me, even when we're traveling in Convoy. We do carry power leads with the Convoy, but a good jump starter pack is definitely necessary. So that's about it for the exterior. I might just quickly jump in the interior and I'll show you how I run my dash setup. Interior, really quickly, I am a huge advocate of not having anything on the back seat. Yeah, I can't stand that stuff just banging around, smashing around, ruin the inside of my car, rattling, the noises it makes, being disorganised. Travelling with suitcases for me is just not a thing. Nothing does my head in more than that. I just use one of these double storage boxes. I keep all of my clothes and all my personal gear in here, and when I'm on my own, this is how I run. The back of the ute, obviously inside the boat. Me is obviously towing the X2, so she's got all that gear in there. Got a fishing chart there for WA, just so I know all the bag size limits and all that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, that's how I'll run my vehicle. But I'll show you up in the front seat. The other thing I'll always carry with me is a really good torch. Something this thing's rechargeable. I don't even know where I got this from or even the brand, whatever it is. But this thing's been with me for years and years and years. When you pull up to camp or roadside, you know, any of that sort of stuff, I'll always keep that stuff with me. And then the other thing I'll always keep in my door will always be a head torch. Now, when it comes to the setup of the dash, a couple of things that I think is really important you can't travel without these days. The navigation in this thing is awesome, but obviously for off-road, no good. iPad is stupidly important these days, I think, to carry with you. There's a couple of different apps that I use that I'll quickly run you through. Wikicamps I found now for roadside camping is awesome. That's a really good bit of gear. You know, you get to midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, you can quickly jump on the app, see the next campsite, see if it's paid, free, whatever, how far away it is, click on it and then go directions and you can get straight in there. Saves you trudging around in the bush at night time trying to find somewhere to camp. Explore Oz I've started using now. That's my go-to now for navigation. So you can see here that we're, well, that's Denham. But here we're in Exmouth right now. We're just down on the beach. We're actually going to launch the boat in about an hour or two. A couple of other apps, Gaia GPS for a backup, and lead nav is not for here, that's for Baja. And then when we're on the water, my go-to is obviously Navionics. Yeah, I don't even rely on the boat now. I've got Starlink up on the boat, so I'll run Navionics for absolutely everything. So that's about it for the setup. Obviously, that's the most important kit here. GME, XRS, we're always on XRS. We use the XRS app. If you don't have one of these yet, definitely get onto it if you're traveling in the Convoy. I don't think anybody else does what GME are doing. So that's about it for the Ram. Now, let's jump into, I think, what you've probably clicked on this video for. Let me show you through my very old, but brand new landing craft. I've actually had this thing for about 5 years. So towards the end of COVID, I commissioned to get this built. I had this built by a company up in Bundaberg for me. just as a bare hull. We did the whole fit out. And we were planning to do the trip that we're doing on this season 5 years ago. And we're just COVID, all the rest of it. What happened to the market, so much going on at Patriot Campers, we just never got there. We never really got there. So we've just been using this as a bit of a beta back on the Gold Coast, if I can say that. It's just an aluminium boat. We wanted something that wasn't overly the top expensive or I suppose luxurious in the way of easy to damage. We wanted something very raw, and I'll show you the reason why, that was just going to be a workhorse for doing these really big trips. When we get to the front, I'll explain to you a little bit more about how it works. But look, it's a 7.7 metre landing craft. It's obviously all aluminium construction. I'll talk about fuel and fuel consumption in a sec, but I'll go through all of the fit out. So the boys up at Brisbane Marine, good mates of mine, been taking care of boats for me for a very long time, take care of all of our fleet. We ended up going with the Mercury 225. The 225 was just light enough that it was going to weigh down the back of the boat, but plenty of horsepower to be able to haul what we needed to inside the boat. So when we're fully loaded for the next portion of the trip, the boat itself will carry about a ton of gear when it comes to what we're going to put up the front and water and all of the rest of it. So the main priority for this thing is it's designed to hold 2 quad bikes in the front or a side-by-side, a 3-seater side-by-side. So the side-by-side will be joining us in the next part of the trip for this first half of the trip. This was more about snorkeling and diving and everything for Maya, which you'll see right throughout the series. This thing just kind of does everything well. It's small enough that we can still beach launch it, although that's definitely challenging with a boat this big, but it's not too big that we can drag it into those remote destinations and we can get into tracks. And the weight planning on this thing worked out absolutely perfect because, like I said, fully loaded, which is I hold 200 litres of unleaded in the trailer, I hold 100 litres of water in the trailer, and then 800 kilos of side-by-side at the top. We tip in at like 4.4 tonne. So we're about 100 kilos to spare under the total towable weight of the Ram. So let's take a walk around the boat first and then we'll jump inside it. The trailer was built for us by Black Marlin Trailers. Now I worked with those guys pretty heavily on this. They've built a lot of aluminium trailers and they build plate boats. And they were building at the time that the trailer built, which was only 12 months ago I had the trailer built, 5 years ago. The boat's just been lived at the back of my place. They've just built me something that is just indestructible, I think. We worked with Cruisemaster really heavily as well. If you remember back in the Arnhem Land series, I took an I-beam aluminium trailer and we did a design for a steel rig and independent suspension that sat underneath that trailer. And we've done exactly the same thing here. So it's running on the XT suspension with disc brakes on airbags, and it's exactly the same setup that we run in our toy haulers. So I'm very familiar with the products. I know that they're indestructible. So what we've done on this one here, you'll see in all the aerial shots right throughout the series, is we've put aluminium mesh from the front all the way to the back. We're going to be going pretty deep into croc country where we're heading, and I wanted the ability to retrieve the boat without someone getting lunched by a crocodile, or obviously just feeling safe when you're actually walking down the centre gangway to hook the boat up. Now we've done a little bit of work on the trip on real shallow launches and shallow water retrievals. I've learnt a lot on this first part of the trip with Mia on how to get this boat in and out of the water, and I can fundamentally get this thing into the water now by only taking the water line up to about here. So I can launch it and I can retrieve it, and when you watch the series you'll see me developing a relationship, I suppose, with the trailer and really understanding what it can and can't do. I did snap the drawbar, the extended drawbar, just the extension piece, which I'll show you in a second, but that was 100% user error. I've got 3 massive straps on each side, so a total of 6 straps, and what we're trying to do here is we're trying to brace the trailer back to the actual boat. So the whole thing kind of operates as one unit. So the boat's giving the trailer, although the trailer's built very stout and very rigid, the boat and these straps are bracing to the trailer and giving the trailer that rigidity that it needs, especially with aluminium. When aluminium flexes over time, and I think I might have explained in another video, if you get a spoon and you bend it enough, eventually it snaps. Aluminium is very, very prone to brittle fracture. So once you stress the aluminium, and then take it past its yield point, cracks start developing, which I'll show you. It's happened up on the tower of the boat, and I'll show you how I've kind of got around that on this trip. So you've got to be really conscious with aluminium. And you really need to go with somebody who's fabricating for you, who knows exactly what they're doing. Hence the reason we build camper trailers. I don't know boats, I don't know trailers. I understand the engineering, but we don't have those resources at Patriot. So I had the hull built and the trailer built for me by 2 companies that really know exactly what they're doing. You can see in here, I've got 100 litres of unleaded. On this side, I've got another 100 litres on the other side, and then I'll have another tank down the back which holds about 120 litres of water. So we can get the range out of the boat that we need to without being in the proximity of somewhere to refuel. The boat itself holds 280 litres. This is our refueling here. The boys up at Norwell just sent me down one of their cradles and one of their jerry cans, which I really like because they got the pins in there. I can also padlock them if you're in areas. And it's just a manual transfer. I didn't want the headache of an electric transfer system. Electric transfer, diaphragms work really well when it comes to diesel, but on unleaded, from past history with the toy haulers, those diaphragms flog out all the time if you're relying on it. So it's really just a matter of, tipping into a 20 litre, dumping into the boat, another 20 litres, dump into the boat. It's really not that hard. Got a couple of loading ramps here, which I'll show you at the end of this video, how that all works. Twin spare holders, so I didn't want the boat to sit too high, so I'm just running it on 33s. And that little thing right there saved my ass on this trip. That's a product from Skid Row. It's fundamentally a ski for your trailer that you put underneath your jockey wheel. And man, I can tell you, if I didn't have that with me on this trip, you'll see coming up. And one of those bits of gear that I've known about for a few years now, but I didn't want to carry on with me. I'm like, where am I going to put the thing? Am I ever going to use it? This trip, I got my hands on one and I brought it out with me, and dude, I can tell you, I am so glad I had it with me because I would have been in a world of hurt. Coming up around the front, you can see in here, I've got electric winch. So that's my winch power. I've got an electric winch up here, I've got a battery inside there, and I've got a BC-DC charger inside there. So off the Anderson, I'm charging that battery. That battery's job is for the brake safe and the winch, that's it. We're running on airbags, 2 Schrader valves, manual fill. Again, I wanted to keep everything simple. And then I've got storage in here for my straps when we unstrap the boat. And you can see here just the amount of work, the fabrication, the workmanship that's gone into this vehicle. The actual winch post, the trailer post, mate, I don't think in a million years we're ever going to bust that thing off. I've got a big, at the front, big stone guard that's protecting the bow of the boat. This angles has been set up really well. 3 mud flaps that are protecting the suspension, and then I run the big mud flaps on the back of the vehicle. This is my drawbar extension, which used to clip onto here. So this whole thing comes out, clips onto here, clips into the DO45, and I've got a 1500mm extension, so the hitch ends up out here. Again, you'll see that in the series, and you'll see the reason that I broke it. Again, no fault of the design. These are not load rated. They are not designed to be towed on. This is purely for shallow water launch and retrieval. Pushed it a little bit too hard, and I ended up breaking the thing. Another 33 on the side. What I probably will do after this trip, I'm thinking I might actually swap this side out here for a second spare for the drive vehicle, for the Ram, for the 2500. I think 2 spares for the boat trailer might be a little bit of overkill. I'd be more comfortable in knowing that I had a secondary spare for the vehicle, again, just for the destination that we're going to. On this side, obviously I've got another loading ramp. This is my other 102 litre fuel tank down here. I've got trailer flush built in on this trailer as well. So I have a series of aluminium pipes that sit right over the suspension arms and the disc brakes with nozzle sprayers. So when we get the thing out of the water, off the 100 litres of water in the back, we just plug a hose from that tank straight into here, and we can flush everything out to ensure when we're in remote locations, we can keep that salt water specifically off the brakes and the axles is what we're really trying to protect there. But again, the subframe of this thing, the suspension arms and the subframe are all steel. So we want to be able to protect that. So at the rear, we got a swim ladder, a dive ladder at the back here. I've got a couple of things going on down the back. Trim tabs are really, really important. Lenco trim tabs on this thing, really important for the landing craft because the weight transfers so much. That 800 kilos, when you roll it out, the boat behaves completely different. And the amount of crew that we have on the boat, if everyone's sitting on the left-hand side, I can electronically kind of lean the thing over. I've also got down here leg support for the engine. So what that does is when we're going down corrugated roads, it really takes the load off the transom, or it shares the load with the transom of the boat and the actual trailer, that it's taking the weight of the motor and keeping the motor locked in, that we're not putting excess pressure on the transom or on the hydraulic ram that controls the trim. Let's jump up and I'll give you a look on board what we got going on up here. All right, up inside the boat at the helm, you'll see these two big cross straps here, which I'll get out of your face, because these were not part of the design. So what happened on the way over here, when we were actually rolling out here, me and Ashton ended up on corrugations for about 300 Ks. And when we pulled up the night, it was actually Ashton picked up on it, we cracked the T-top. So we've got some cracks going on just down in here, and we've got some cracks going on the other side, and that was from the T-top doing this. Now, we were 2,000 Ks from home, something like that. So we've just put this cross brace in to brace the top of the T-top, and the cracks haven't gotten any worse. So that's something I'm going to need to sort out when we get back. We've obviously gone and jammed a lot of weight on top of this. I'll show you what's on the roof in a minute. 4 big speakers. This was the twins doing, which is really nice. I'm not going to lie to you. When you're out cruising at the end of the day, or even when you're fishing, you know, pumping the beats has been really cool. This seat goes forwards and backwards. So when we're moored up in the afternoon, depending on which way we're swinging on the anchor, you can kind of sit back here, but this has been really cool for observing, for snorkelers and that. I can normally drive out the side, so I'll stand out the side there and I'll kind of look around, and say Sarah or me will sit up in here, or whoever's in the water. This is really nice. And even when you're trolling, so when you're trolling, the rod holders are out the back, you can sit up here, you put your feet up on the motors, and it's just really, really cool place to be. So we did, like I said, we did all the fit out. I made up all the sheet metal for here and all the dash and all the rest of it. Raymarine screens, which I was a little bit cheap. I got them off a mate of mine. They were a couple of years old. They're both now don't work anymore after the corrugations. The touch is completely gone on them. To be honest with you, I haven't been a fan of them from the start. I've always run Garmin stuff in all of my boats. The opportunity came up to buy the Raymarines. Not a big fan. I'm definitely going to change them out. But I run off the iPad off Navionics up there anyway, so that's where my iPad sits, Navionics with the Starlink on the roof. I've got VHF, so obviously marine, and then I have UHF on this side, so another XRS. We can talk back to base camp, which comes in really handy, or if we're pulling up on a remote island, say for example, and the side-by-side heads out, that we can stay in communications with the side-by-side. Mercury throttle, Mercury dash, and here's all of our switches in here. I've got floodlights everywhere on the top. I've got a light bar facing forward, 2 floodlights rear, light bar on the side, on the left and the right hand side. Again, where we're going, where we're heading into some of those systems, we're going to need as much light as we can get. I'm really excited about the trip coming up. Fusion head unit, I've got storage in here. So in here I keep tools and anything like phones and whatever else. Down the bottom we've got two 12-inch subs. Again, that was all the twins. First aid kit, I've got some washing gear down in there. I've got empty beer bottles, you know, that's the sort of stuff you want to see on a boat. And then down in both of these wings here, I've got safety gear on both sides. So I'll keep the EPIRB, GME EPIRB on that side, and then in here I'll have all of my life jackets. That side there will have fenders, buckets, flares, and all of that sort of stuff will sit in there. And that's the trim tabs like I was talking about. Just added this in before we left. This has been really handy throughout the trip. Chuck all your jackets up there. If you get into the situation where you think, oh, might need the life jackets a bit more accessible, jam them up in there and you can get to them a little bit quicker. All right, so the deck, we had this thing built when we built it 5 years ago at 1640 wide between the door, and that would fit every brand of side-by-side. In the past 5 years, side-by-sides have just like they've been on steroids, they've just grown. So now we're kind of a little bit more limited to what we can take. Ultimately, this thing will have a 3-seater in the front of it. We need the opportunity to have the tray. I didn't want to carry a 4-door side-by-side. They're getting too big and too long. So that's what the deck's been designed to do. It was originally going to be a Polaris Ranger that we were going to be taking up there, but I've been looking at the Kawasaki's lately, and I think that Kawasaki Ridge is probably the go these days, but not confirmed just yet. We're still trying to figure out between me and the boys what we're going to take. So let me run you through the deck space. We've Raptor-coated the whole deck in light grey. You can see how much we've been using the boat. A lot of it's chipped off. Big Coleman fridge freezer, again for the trip that we're going to be going on. Just got my hands on one of these on-tap water jerrys. This has got an electric pump. It's only 20 litres in there. You can have a quick rinse off with the shower, but that's more for drinking water. And I have salt water wash down on this side, so I can wash down the entire boat. Rods on this side, I keep all the small debate casters and your quick access stuff. I keep underneath the roof. And then on this side here, I've got more of my heavier gear. So, you know, tuners, marlins, all that sort of stuff, some jigging rods and that sort of stuff. You know, I'm not all the gear, no idea when it comes to fishing. I enjoy it. I can think of better things to do than going fishing. I like the exploring. I love boating. I love catching fish, but I'm not crazy when it comes to fishing, and neither are the twins. But here in Exmouth, we're going to do a lot more fishing with the boys who know all the local spots. So we're prepared really for any sort of style of fishing there. A couple of swags just strapped on the side here that we've been traveling with. Got 2 crud pots, a cast net there, so if we go out prawning or even catching bait, you'll see snorkeling gear lying around everywhere because we're just getting ready to head out. I've got more power up in here, so I can plug in a floodlight, predominantly is what that's for. So we've got one of the big power beams, and we'll sit up here and we'll spot crocs and all that sort of stuff when we're traveling. Secondary bait board, manual anchor. This boat's not really an anchoring sort of style boat, and especially where we're going, we'll probably be tied off to rock walls. And the big advantage, I haven't spoken about this thing here, and the reason we had it built the way we did, this thing's got a V-nose front but a flat bottom. So well, we're planning on getting this thing high and dry a lot. Big tidal areas, getting the thing up onto sandbars and even onto rock bars, that overnight the boat's not going to roll over on us, or less risk of damage. Sacrifice a little bit of ride with it, so it's not really what you'd call a blue water boat, but you'd be really surprised on the way this thing handles. I had Mick and Keiki, who are both skippers, been here in Exmouth for 15 odd years, and I think when I pulled up with it, they were like, dude, how's that thing riding the sea? I said, man, you'll be surprised. And I think they were really impressed with what it can do. But again, this is more for estuaries or in behind the reefs. It's not for going out in big swells. That's not what this thing is all about. You can see here we've put in 4 massive tie-down points here as well, 1 in each corner of the quad bike. And anchor storage up the front, electric winch, a couple of things that we did add in. I'll put this table in just before we left, so that's more of a preparation area for making lunch, which you'll see me and Mia using that a lot. Clears, we have clears on the side, and this is a massive rollout awning that goes all the way to the front to the bow. So we put 2 poles in the front there when we're up north during the summer, or even when the swags are laid out on the deck and it's raining, we can kind of get out of the weather a little bit, as much as possible. 3, well, we can actually fit 4 swags side by side down here. So me, Christian and Ashton are going to be really comfortable on this. It's been a long time, 5 years, we've kind of been, oh, let's change this or move that, and we've finally got it right. One other thing that we do carry with us, which is interesting, is a spare propeller. Again, if we hit one of those rock bars, we've got a spare prop underneath there, and we carry all the tools and the spares for it. So that's a bit of a run through the boat. What have I forgotten? I'll show you up on the roof, and then I'm going to show you the whole front end, and I'll show you how the front works. Up on the roof, this is probably pretty interesting. Got a couple of things going on up here. A 200-watt solar panel, so that's feeding the 2 main batteries. I've just got 2 deep cycle AGM crank batteries in this thing here. We only got the fridge on board, carry a jump starter pack. I don't have lithium or anything like that. Again, I really just want to keep this thing simple and really reliable. Rhino platform, so the swags ultimately when we travel, they'll live up the top here. Pecor Starlink mount, and then you can see all of the light bars around. GME whips. So anyway, I've got my UHF whip, VHF whip, and then one on that side for FM, which is kind of useless, but 2 whips up kind of look cool. And I've got a big Rhino storage box in the back, that Rhino storage box. So that's where we'll keep all the snorkeling gear inside. So we've really made some good use of the roof. And you can see all the additional weight, the added weight is probably the reason that T-top's just started getting that hairline crack around it. And those braces, like I said, are just to stop it from getting any worse. But I'll sort that out when the thing gets back to Queensland. So yeah, pretty interesting. But let's have a look at that front. Have a look at the drawbar, drawbridge, front gate. I don't know, the front hatch. Let's go and have a look at that thing, and I'll show you how we get the side by side on and off, because I think it's quite ingenious. So the drawbar pin, we pull that pin here. That's just our safety, because last thing we want while we're running is obviously the front gate coming down. And then that's the winch there, and the winch cable runs through both sides, which you'll see in a sec. Now the controls are back at the helm. So you'll see in the episode when I'm like starting to pull up towards the beach, I'll get Mia or one of the kids to unlock the pin. And then from the helm, I can control the drawbar up and down, which is really cool. So I'll go flick that there now. I'll drop this down so you can kind of see how wide it is. And then we'll go back down the front and I'll show you how we get the side by side on and off. All right, so first thing, we'll just get the stone guard off, pull these couple of pins out. I fabricated up a little cradle at the back that holds the ramps in right at the back there. They're not the easiest things to get out because of the jerry can, but you get the gist. So I've got real heavy duty ones made by Whips. We've been using the Whips ramps forever. So ramps go in here. I've got 2 pins in the front. 1 pin goes in here and then 1 goes in the other side. I won't chuck the pins in, you'll get the idea. I'll just, when the pins are in, drop the drawbar down and that locks the whole thing together. You'll see how the front, the DO45 is sticking out the front, but we've got plenty of clearance underneath the ATVs. All right, so you can see here, we can adjust the angle obviously on the drawbar. I've just got that up at the ram height. So to get that thing out a little bit flatter, we just drop the drawbar down. You can see how much on the leg we can go down about 300 mil, just makes loading and unloading a little bit easier. So I think it's a really, really cool setup. It's something a little bit new, and like I said before, I think it's simple, just nice and simple. Really, really easy, very, very useful. I think you're gonna see this thing being used for a lot of different stuff coming up on Patriot Games. Like I said, 5 years I've had this thing for, and really now we're getting to the stage that we're gonna put this thing into really good use. So I hope you enjoy the upcoming series. The series that we got coming up for you guys is, I'm gonna say it's the favorite I've ever shot so far. We've shot half of the series for you. We're just at the end of the trip now. Just the 2 of us traveling from Perth to Exmouth, coming right up the Ningaloo Reef, up the coast of Australia that I've never been to, and we saw some absolutely amazing stuff. We met some amazing people, and Mia got to tick off the top of her bucket list. She got her dream. You know, if you've been watching the series and you saw the twins at Baja and the handover with the boys, that was amazing. But what I got to do with my daughter yesterday was something that I don't think she will ever forget for as long as she lives. So I hope you enjoy the series. Give us some comments, some questions. You got any suggestions, you know? Anything that you see here that you think we could improve, chuck it in the comments. And I hope you get some ideas for maybe a project that you're doing for yourself and get the opportunity to get out here. Western Australia is, I've heard that saying, West is best, right? I'm not gonna say it like that. You're not gonna hear it come out of my mouth, but I think there's a lot of truth in that. Stay tuned for the upcoming series of Patriot Games. Welcome to Western Australia. Yeah, this is somewhere you'd wanted to come for, I think, as long as you could talk.
I'm excited about the snorkeling. I love the ocean.
Now we're going to attempt that track today. All right, we're here.
Yeah.
Dirk Hartog Island. 10 or 8 pounds.
super soft. Obviously very corrugated.
That was go the Cummins.
Go the Cummins.
Friggin' cool.
That's the turtle you saw.
Oh, that's the turtle I saw before.
That was wild.
Not today.